Have you ever received something beautiful, something meant just for you, and had it taken away before you even got to enjoy it, and then been blamed for everything that happened next? That's what happened to me, and I almost didn't survive it. Not physically, but the version of me who trusted people, who believed that family meant safety, she didn't make it out. My name is Amanda. I'm 31 years old. I'm a physical therapist. I own a small house in Asheville, North Carolina, and I have spent the last 2 years trying to make sense of a week that turned my entire life upside down. I need to tell you this story. All of it. My husband's name is Kevin. We met at a mutual friend's backyard barbecue 4 years ago. He was quiet in a room full of loud people, which I found interesting. He laughed at things I said that other people missed. We dated for 1.5 years before he proposed. I said yes before he finished the sentence. Kevin's family is from rural Tennessee. His parents, his older brother Scott, Scott's wife Renee, and Kevin's mother, everyone called her Mama June, even people who weren't related to her. Kevin's father passed when Kevin was 17, so Mama June ran that family the way a general runs a battalion. Everything went through her. Every decision, every holiday, every opinion about what was right and what was right and what was wrong. Kevin loved her deeply. I respected that. I told myself that a man who loves his mother is a man who knows how to love a woman. I believed that for 3 years. The ring came on a Tuesday in March. Kevin was in Denver for work. He's a structural engineer and travels about 10 days a month. He'd been gone for 6 days. I came home from my afternoon shift at the clinic, dropped my bag by the door and saw a small package on the kitchen counter. He must have arranged for it to be delivered while he was away. There was a card taped to the box. His handwriting. Open this before I call tonight. I love you. I sat down right there at the counter and opened it. Inside was a ring. Not a diamond ring, not an engagement ring. We were already married. It was a delicate gold band set with 3 small emeralds, and the inside of the band was engraved with a date. Our wedding date. I started crying before I fully understood why. It was just so thoughtful. So quietly, privately thoughtful in the way Kevin could be when he put his mind to it. The stones matched a necklace I'd worn on our wedding day. He'd noticed that. He'd remembered. I put it on my right hand and called him immediately, even though he'd said to wait. He laughed when he picked up. You couldn't wait, could you? Kevin, this ring. Do you like it? I love it. I love it so much. How did you? I've been planning it for a while. Happy anniversary, Mandy. Our anniversary was still 3 weeks away. He was early. He'd been thinking about it for months. I wore that ring to bed that night. I fell asleep looking at it in the dark. 3 days later, Kevin's mother called and asked if I'd come down to Tennessee for the weekend. She said she wanted family time, that she'd been missing everyone, that it would be good to get together before Easter. Kevin was flying home Friday evening and suggested we drive down together Saturday morning. I didn't think anything of it. I'd made the drive to their place in Clarksville plenty of times. The house was large, sitting on about 4 acres, and Mama June kept it the way some women keep a church. Everything in its place. Everything with a purpose. No mess tolerated. We arrived around noon. Scott and Renee were already there. Scott was Kevin's older brother by 5 years, big, loud, always telling stories that were 90% exaggeration. Renee was quieter. She had a way of watching me that I never quite got uncomfortable with, as she was calculating something. Lunch was fine. Mama June made her brisket. Kevin talked shop with Scott. I helped clear the dishes and tried to stay useful the way you do when you're still, even after 3 years, trying to prove you belong somewhere. It was after lunch when Kevin stepped outside to take a work call that it happened. I was standing at the kitchen sink rinsing glasses. Renee came in and stood beside me. I thought she was going to help dry. She looked at my hand. That's pretty, she said. She was looking at the ring. Kevin got it for me, for our anniversary. She picked up my hand without asking. Just reached out and held my fingers up, turning the ring toward the light. These are real emeralds? I think so. I haven't had it appraised or anything. She set my hand down, didn't say anything else, left the kitchen. I thought it was a little strange, but Renee was often a little strange, so I let it go. That evening, Mama June asked to see the ring. Kevin showed it to her proudly, the way he always got when he'd done something he knew was good. She turned it over in her fingers, looked at the engraving, made a sound that wasn't quite approval and wasn't quite disapproval. "It's lovely," she said finally, and handed it back to me. That night, Kevin and I were given the guest room at the end of the hall. I set the ring on the nightstand before bed. I always take jewelry off to sleep and didn't think about it again until morning. In the morning, it was gone. I looked everywhere. Under the nightstand, between the mattress and the wall, on the floor, by the baseboards, in the bathroom. Gone. I went through my bag twice. I pulled every item out of my suitcase and put it back. Nothing. Kevin was still asleep. I didn't want to wake him with something I thought might have a simple explanation. Maybe I'd moved it without remembering. Maybe it had rolled somewhere I wasn't looking. I went downstairs. Mama June was already in the kitchen with her coffee. I asked as casually as I could manage whether anyone had come into the guest room that morning. She looked at me over her mug. "Why would anyone go into your room? My ring is missing. I'm just trying to figure out if maybe the cleaning woman moved it, or I don't have a cleaning woman on weekends." I stood there. She looked at me. Something passed between us that I didn't have words for yet. "I'm sure it'll turn up," she said. It turned up 4 hours later. On Renee's hand. I saw it when we were all sitting on the back porch after lunch. She was gesturing at something Scott said, and the light caught the 3 emeralds, and my stomach dropped so fast I felt sick. I didn't say anything immediately. I sat with it for a full minute, telling myself maybe I was wrong, maybe it was a similar ring, maybe I was about to embarrass myself. But I knew it was my ring. I'd studied those stones in the dark. I knew exactly how they were set. I excused myself from the porch and found Kevin inside in the living room. "Kevin." I kept my voice low. "Renee is wearing my ring." He looked up from his phone. "What? My ring?" "The anniversary ring you gave me. Renee has it on her right hand. I just saw it on the porch." He stared at me. I could see him processing it, looking for the version of this that made more sense than the one I was giving him. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure." He went quiet for a moment. Then, "Let me talk to Scott." I don't know what was said between them. I was not in the room. I went upstairs and sat on the edge of the bed and looked at my bare right hand, and I felt something I hadn't expected to feel. Not anger. Not yet. Something smaller and colder. Something that felt like the beginning of a question I didn't want answered. Kevin came back upstairs about 20 minutes later. He sat next to me on the bed and didn't speak right away. "What did he say?" I asked. "He said Mama gave it to Renee." I turned to look at him. "Your mother gave my ring to Renee?" She thought. He stopped. Started again. "She said she thought it was one of the rings from her jewelry box. She said she didn't realize it was yours." "Kevin." "It has our wedding date engraved on the inside of it." He didn't have anything to say to that. "I want it back," I said. "I want my ring back." "I know. I'll get it back." He went to talk to his mother. I heard voices downstairs, first low, then not so low. I heard Scott's voice. I heard Mama June's voice, with that particular tone she had that I'd learned meant the conversation was being ended on her terms, not anyone else's. Kevin came back. His face was doing something I hadn't seen it do before. "She says Renee became very attached to it," he said. "He's asking if we can let Renee keep it. She said she'll buy you something else to make up for it." I stared at him. "She'll buy me something else," I repeated. "Amanda, that ring has our wedding date on it, Kevin. Your wife's wedding date. She wants to replace it." I know, I'll fix this." But his voice had that slight retreat in it, the one I'd noticed before whenever his family entered the picture. "Like a tide going out," I said. "Tell me something. When your mother gave Renee that ring, do you think she knew it was mine?" He didn't answer. That was answer enough. I went downstairs that evening because I refused to hide in a room like I'd done something wrong. Dinner was quiet. Renee wore my ring to the dinner table. She didn't look at me. Mama June talked about the weather and about a cousin's new baby and about a casserole she was planning to bring to a neighbor. Normal things, in a normal voice, as if nothing had happened. I ate. I kept my hands in my lap. I did not cry. After dinner, I called my best friend Diane from the upstairs bathroom with the water running. I told her what happened. There was a long silence. "Come home," she said. "Kevin and I drove here together." "Then make Kevin drive you home, tonight." "It's a 3-hour drive, Amanda." Her voice was careful. "The fact that she took your ring and is still wearing it at dinner. That's not an accident. That's a message. I knew she was right. I'd known it since the porch." The next morning, I told Kevin I needed to leave. I said I wasn't comfortable staying in that house and that I needed him to either get my ring back before we left or drive me home and come back for it later. I was calm. I was clear. I'd rehearsed it 3 times in my head before I said it out loud. Kevin went to his mother. What came back to me, relayed through him, was this. Mama June said that I was being dramatic, that I was making something small into something large, that Renee had health problems and had been going through a difficult time, and that letting her keep a little ring was a small kindness that a generous person would extend without complaint. I asked Kevin directly, "Is she going to give it back?" He said, "I don't think she's going to make Renee give it back. And you? What are you going to do?" He looked at the floor. "I just need a little time to smooth this over. You know how she gets. If I push too hard, Kevin, it's my ring. You gave it to me. I know." He looked genuinely pained. I'll give him that. He looked like a man being pulled in 2 directions, but he was still standing in the middle, and the middle, in that moment, felt a lot like his mother's side. I picked up my bag. "I'm going to call a car. I'll get a ride to the nearest rental place and drive myself home." He looked alarmed. "You don't have to do that." "I think I do." I drove 3 hours home in a rented Kia, alone, listening to nothing. Not music, not a podcast, just the sound of the highway and the sound of my own breathing. By the time I got back to Asheville, something had settled in me. Not peace exactly, more like resolve. The kind that comes when you stop waiting for someone else to fix something. I called a jeweler friend of mine, a woman named Helen who'd done the settings for several pieces Kevin had given me over the years. I asked if she had records of the ring's specifications. She did. She'd made it. Kevin had commissioned it 6 months ago. She had photos, measurements, the unique engraving on the band. I emailed myself everything she sent me. Then I called my lawyer. Not to file anything yet, just to understand what I was dealing with. She told me that if someone takes property that belongs to you, documented, verifiable property, and refuses to return it, that's civil conversion. She used words like demand letter and small claims and documented ownership. She was calm about it. That calmness helped me be calm about it. Kevin called that night. He said he'd talked to his mother. He said things had gotten emotional. He said Renee was not well and that the ring had somehow become important to her. "What do you mean, not well?" I asked. A pause. "She's been struggling. Anxiety. She's been having a hard couple of months." "I'm sorry to hear that." "I genuinely am. But that doesn't make it her ring, Kevin." "I know. Do you?" Another pause, longer. "Amanda, I just need you to be patient with me. I love you. I'm trying to navigate this. I know you love me. I'm asking what you're going to do." He didn't have an answer that night. 3 days later, I sent a formal demand letter through my lawyer addressed to Scott and Renee's home, requesting the return of the ring within 10 business days, along with documentation of its provenance. Kevin found out about the letter before they received it. He called me, and his voice was different. Not gentle, not his usual retreat. Tight. "You sent them a lawyer letter." "I sent a demand letter, yes. Amanda, you didn't tell me you were going to do that. My mother she's upset." Scott called me. "He's furious. They have my property, Kevin. You're going to blow up my entire family over a ring." Something happened in my chest when he said that. Something went very still. "Say that again." I didn't mean. You said I'm going to blow up your family. Over a ring. That you gave me. That was taken from our guest room while we slept, by your family. Silence. "Kevin, I need you to hear me say this clearly. I'm not the one who created this situation. I'm the one trying to resolve it." There is a difference. He was quiet for a long time. When he spoke again, his voice had changed back, softer, broken around the edges. "You're right," he said. "I know you're right. I'm sorry." Come home, I said, and we'll figure out what to do next together. He drove back to Asheville that night. On the 9th day of the 10-day window, Renee and Scott returned the ring. No note. No apology. The jeweler's box arrived by FedEx, and inside was the ring, exactly as I'd last seen it. I sat with it in my palm for a while before putting it on. Kevin and I talked for a long time that week about his family, about what I'd needed from him that he hadn't given, about what it meant that it took a lawyer's letter to make them do the right thing. He cried at one point, which I hadn't seen him do before. He said he'd always known his mother had a way of making him feel like a child again, and that he'd been trying to change that, and that he'd failed me. I told him the crying wasn't the part that mattered. The part that mattered was what came after. We went to couples counselling. We've been going for 7 months now. It's not easy. None of this was easy, but I'm still wearing the ring. Kevin put it back on my finger himself after I handed it to him and asked him to do it over. Small gestures sometimes mean more the second time. I'm not going to tell you everything is perfect. I'm still cautious around his family. Thanksgiving was quiet and careful in a way that Thanksgiving has never been in my experience. Mama June and I are polite, nothing more. But I stood up for myself. I didn't wait for permission. I made calls. I got documentation. I sent the letter. And the ring came back. If you're in a situation where something that belongs to you, something real, something yours is being held by people who are counting on you to stay quiet, I want you to know you don't have to stay quiet. The storm always comes when you least expect it, but you can learn to stand in it without being blown away. I'm still learning, but I'm still standing. I think about the moment I saw that ring on Renee's hand, the light catching those 3 emeralds, my stomach dropping, and I realize now that what I felt wasn't just anger, it was recognition. Some part of me had been waiting to find out what kind of woman I actually was. Was I the kind who goes quiet to keep the peace, or the kind who picks up the phone and makes the call? The honest answer is that I didn't know until I had to find out. Here's what I've come to understand about that whole situation. People who take what isn't theirs are almost always counting on one thing: silence. They count on you being too polite, too afraid of conflict, too worried about what the family will think. Mama June didn't give that ring to Renee because she made a mistake. She did it because she had years of evidence that her son would smooth things over and that I would let him. She was placing a bet. She placed bets like that before, probably many times, and they'd always paid off. What changed this time was me. I'm not going to pretend I handled everything perfectly. There were moments I sat in that rented Kia driving home alone and thought maybe I was being too rigid, maybe family harmony was worth more than one piece of jewelry. That thought lasted about 40 minutes. Then I thought about Kevin standing in the hallway telling me his mother wanted to replace the ring with something else, and the thought went away. The ring wasn't the point. It was never really about the ring. It was about whether the people around me would learn, once and for all, that I was someone who could be managed. And the only way to answer that question, the only real answer, was what I did next. The lawyer, the letter, the documentation. Not out of spite, out of clarity. What I learned from Kevin in those weeks is something I hadn't fully understood before. Love and courage are not the same thing, and a person can have a lot of one and very little of the other. Kevin loves me. I don't doubt that, but love without the willingness to act on it, to put yourself between someone you love and the people hurting them, is only half of what it needs to be. We're still working on that. He knows it. I know it. That's what the counselling is for. And Renee. I don't think she's a villain. I think she's a woman who learned to take things because no one ever stopped her. That's its own kind of sad. But understanding someone's history doesn't mean you hand them your property and call it grace. Courage isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It just looks like picking up the phone one more time, writing one more email, refusing to sit down when everything in you wants to disappear. I did those things. Small, practical, unglamorous things. And they worked. That's the part nobody talks about. The unsexy mechanics of standing up for yourself. It's not a confrontation in the rain. It's a FedEx box arriving on a Tuesday with your ring inside. Well, what's yours? Go get it back if you have to.